Hello, hello. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be doing the remainder of the review of my journal for the 2025 Dungeons and Book Dragon reading challenge, which was hosted by at Ivy the Geek Goddess. If you want to go and check her out, she did say she's going to be doing another one next year. If you are interested in joining and want to have fun with this lovely challenge next year, I would go ahead and follow along with her. That way you can see when she's going to be doing it. I assume it'll be the same time next year, but she didn't specifically state it was going to be the same, which would be November of next year, but I'm currently assuming that, so maybe check in. She has a Discord that goes for it, which is fun, and people can chat and go through all the different discussions and prompts, etc. So, anyways, where we left off last time was we had just finished in the Inferno Fortress, and we're heading to our next location. As a quick overview of some of the mechanics, each of the 6 locations has its own main quest prompt, and those change every 5 to 6 days. You have to finish the main prompt for that location before you go to the next location. So if you don't finish reading your book, then you have to finish that book and log it before you go to the next location in the list. And you can't skip any locations. You have to go to all of them unless you have a card. And you can get cards when your team levels up, and those cards can be for a number of different things. Some of those are to skip a main prompt if you would like. Some of those are for extra points depending on whether it fits your class trait or just because you sort of were deceptive and used your magic skills in order to convince someone that they should give you double points or an extra 75 points for your charm or whatever it is. So we'll see some of those cards pop up as we go. If you finished your main quest, you could also go out on some excursions and do some side quests. And there were between 6 and 8 side quest options for every period of time. I did not have enough time to read 9 books potentially for every single time, so you will see there were quite a few spots that are open, but all the side quests were not required. Only the mains were required, so just keep that in mind. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right in. Next place we went was called the Starlit Market. And there was a brand new mechanic introduced at this point for the last 10 days of the challenge, or 10 days of the month. That was inspiration points, and the wizards, the team I was on, did not ever get inspiration points, unfortunately. But essentially, this mechanic was that if you got a inspiration point, then you could swap out any of the side quest prompts for any book you wanted for that inspiration point. And if whichever team answered the random encounter first, their entire team got 1 inspiration point to do that with. So she also mentioned she could hand them out at will if various things, but that didn't happen for anyone on my team, so I'm not sure how that went potentially in other teams. Maybe someone else who participated in a different team will have some discussions on the inspiration point mechanic and how that worked with their team, but unfortunately I can't really speak much more than just this was how it was explained. And it sounds like a fun mechanic. I would have loved to have swapped out some of my side quest prompts. I had a few books this month that did not fit into any prompts, unfortunately, but I needed to read for other things, so that would have been great. But I think that it was fine that we didn't, not a problem. That would have been fun. I wanted to experience all the mechanics because that's just who I am as a person. So at this point, we leveled up. We went to level 6. So we were on level 4 in the last update. Now the wizards were up to level 6. And this is sort of my little page showing the verbiage, all the things that she said about it. And we ended up earning a couple of cards at that point to go with it. So you will see some new cards. I thought I meant to put those there so you could see them, but there's a lot going on. So we get to the Starlit market, and there are all of these different places that you can go and things you can do, and you'll see that from all the side quests, which is a lot of fun. The main quest was to read a book where a shop, store, or market plays a crucial role in the story. And I needed to read Buffalo Valley for her kid. And this one, there's actually two stores that play a main part. I will say this book is very Hallmark. If you know what I mean, Hallmark Christmas movie. Essentially, it is happening in that time period. It is Christmassy time of the year. And there is a sort of mega mart that's going to be coming into the town potentially, and the main male interest, is working for them, or like they're about to start working for them, and is kind of sort of dating somebody back home who works for them, and he doesn't know how he feels about that relationship. He's thought about proposing, and she didn't seem excited. Now he's sort of rethinking the whole relationship. He's in this tiny town for Christmas because that's where somebody who is very important to his family lives, and he wanted to learn more about the town and meet the person and all these things. And he meets this girl who works at, I believe it's a pharmacy, and she is very passionate about keeping this big megamart out of their town because it will destroy the town. So, like I said, it's a Hallmark movie in a book. So it'll give you a warm hug, but it isn't going to be anything you haven't seen before. I'll leave it at that. I gave it 3 stars, and I earned 175 XP. Then there were only 6 side quests this time, but they were all different fun things. So it was like a street performer, or a hidden alley, or puzzle solve. And so this was one of my favorite designed side quest lines. I thought it was really cute, and it worked really well as a side quest kind of plot point, because you're able to like, ooh, I turn a corner and I'm on a hidden alley, or it fits better than some of the other ones in my opinion. This was my favorite of the design aspect. So these were the options. I ended up choosing to do Puzzle Stall, which was read a mystery or puzzle-based story, and I read Grave Secret, which is a sort of paranormal mystery. There is a serial killer on the loose, and she has the ability to find the dead. So she like knows how they died, and she can like walk over the earth and be like, oh, there's a dead person right below me. This is their name usually, and this is how they died. And so they bring her in to see if she can find some missing boys, and she does. And then there's a serial killer in town, there's a blizzard, and it's a whole thing. It's a lot of fun, but she's trying to solve like what's going on, which for me felt like it would work because it is a mystery, even though it is sort of also a little thrillery. And it also has some romance aspects. I will say the romance aspect of this particular series in general is not for everyone. It is a step sibling, become best friends for years, did not meet till they were later in their teen years, end up falling in love as adults. And so that's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. So I give you that warning now. But I enjoy the premise of her being out there solving crimes because she can just find out where somebody has died, and how that affects like all of her life. And she was hit by lightning, and that's why she gets this cool gift, and how it actually isn't always a gift. It's kind of that it's a gift, it's a curse. So I think it's an interesting concept. I don't necessarily think the romance needed to be there personally, but FYI, if that is not your cup of tea, then maybe that's not the one for you. But I gave it 3 stars, and I got 75 XP. Then I read Dreadful, for the street performer one, which was to read a book with humor or that's considered lighthearted. It is hilarious. I loved it. I've talked about this in my review for the month, but generally speaking, as a quick overview, he wakes up, he has absolutely no memories whatsoever other than the fact that, like, he looks around, he's like, okay, I have the knowledge, or at least some of the knowledge of life, because he looks around, he's like, oh, this is definitely a wizard's tower, or wizard's workspace. So obviously I'm a wizard. I'm wearing robes. I'm in this place. I must be a wizard. Okay, cool. And then he meets like the sort of minions, the people who work for him, in this castle, and they're all expecting him to be this like bad, cruel wizard, and he's like, I don't think that's who I am, and do I really want to be that person? And he goes through this whole existential crisis because I don't know if it's a crisis, but he's dealing with a lot while he's trying to figure this out because he's got somebody, a princess, captured in the basement. He's like, why is she in the basement? Why was she captured? How do I want to treat this? How should I handle this? And it's funny because he's trying to like figure all this stuff out, and I just thought it was fun. It was a fun read. I enjoyed it. The next one I also gave 4 stars to. It wasn't for the same humorous fun though. It was because I thought it was really good. It was sci-fi. It's Axiom's End. And I read this one for a Herkiad prompt as well. And it was to read a book. The prompt was Hidden Alley, not Hidden Valley. That's a ranch dressing. Hidden Alley, read a book set in an unusual secretive location. And this one has several like hidden locations and bunkers in the book. Essentially, the main premise is you have aliens who have come to Earth, and all that potentially entails. You've got the government trying to hide it, and you've got people trying to make sure it gets out into the world, and you've got multiple groups of aliens who aren't necessarily happy with each other, and they've got a lot of societal issues going on, and that's being brought to you guys, and trying to communicate with a culture that is completely different and has minimal understanding of each other, like even down to like how they speak and communicate, and how they view their life partners and procreation, and all of the different things, because they just don't have not just the language but the cultural base to discuss. And so it has a lot of interesting thoughts of, if we ever do come across aliens, the likelihood is they're not going to be at all like us, and how are you going to have these communications with them, because you have to have a base level of understanding of certain concepts to even understand what someone's talking about. They were talking about love, and they're like, that's not how we feel it. When we have love, we can, it's like it's another part of yourself, and we'll never have that. You can't have that interspecies. It has to be like with our species, because you actually share like a part of your, almost like your soul with that person, and you can kind of understand that person and communicate with that person differently than you can other people. And it's a whole thing. It was really good. I'm planning on reading the second one next year. It's already on the list. So I got 275 XP for that one because I used one of my cards, which boosted my submission by 100 XP. And then I didn't mention it, but I got 125 XP for Dreadful. So we move on. We had a random encounter. So this is the third one we have had, and I rolled an 11 because we needed to. I rolled really, really well. I am surprised, 'cause usually I don't roll well when it comes to D&D. Like it's a thing. It's more than 50% of the time I don't roll well. 50-50, right? You're supposed to roll decently 50% of the time, and not so decently the other 50% of the time. And I know I feel like it's not that way for me, but I did really well for this one. I was mostly like getting 5 points on all the random encounters, which happy day for me. But anyway, so the encounter was to get the deck of mini reads, which was fun because if you D&D, you know what it's based on. But you draw a card from the cursed deck, and I got the Magician, which meant I needed to give a piece of advice for other readers, and I said, read what brings you joy as well as what helps you grow. So you don't want to necessarily just read for fun all of the time. Yes, that's absolutely a good reason to read, and I do a ton of that. but also expand your horizon and read things that make you grow as a person, make you learn something new or experience something from a different person's eyes, because it makes you a more well-rounded person. It makes you a better friend. It makes you better at your job. It makes you better in your relationships. It makes you better at everything if you are a more understanding person and you are constantly hoping to grow and learn, at least in my opinion. So that was my suggestion. So after that, we went to the final location, which was the Lair of Tiamat, and I hope that I am saying that correctly. Here is where we meet our last dragon. Well, it's the only dragon we've had so far, but it's our last villain, monster, etc., which is kind of a dragon. It's more of a hydra, but yes. So for main quest 6, it was read a book featuring a powerful villain, monster, or force of destruction. This is a very long book. It is a very good book. So if you have the time to grab it, I suggest it. It's as good as my friends were saying it was. It just is. I don't want to get too deep because I'm already talking so much. Where it's 15 minutes and we've gone like minimal slides. But generally, it's about a wizard and a... what is she? She has magic, but it's a different kind of magic. She's from a different place than he is. And then it's also got a seeker. And most of the book features around the seeker, and he is going to sort of save the world. And the adventure that they go on and all of the different things that they encounter along the way. And it's just really good. It's fantasy. It's high fantasy. I plan on picking up the next one in this series, as my friends suggested. They were like so excited that I finally got around to reading this. And they're like, okay, so read the next one, right? And then we're going to talk about the next one. I was like, yes, I will definitely get there. I don't know when, because it takes me time to be able to get through all of the things on my TBR, but I will get there. I definitely want to read the next one. Okay, 4 stars. Oh, and I got tons of points for this one because it's so long. Every 25, or every 50 additional pages over 250 pages got you an additional 25 points. And then because it had magic, I got another 50 points there. Plus you got, for main quest 6, I think 225 points. Is it 25? I have a spreadsheet somewhere that I was keeping track of what points I got for everything and how that was broken down and et cetera, et cetera. But yes, so that was all of my points there. So then, this is the one where I didn't really know that I loved this particular sort of breakdown because I didn't think it made sense that you're going to take down the Hydra type creature and then you also are chopping off their heads, or at least destroying their heads by doing the side quest. I feel like that isn't necessarily how that works, but it is interesting that you're going to have all the different types of, not necessarily genres, but just different things. So you've got something where emotions run hot, and something with isolation for frost, and then you've got something with horror or gothic, toxins, and something that's going to make you cry because it's like rain and storms. And then you've got your last 3 are book that has won an award, someone dies, or final book in a series. So to do the Horde of Legends, Death Saving Throw, or a Final Blow. So like I said, I really liked the street vendors one. I thought that was really a cool way to do the side quest. This one was probably my least favorite, but it was still a lot of good prompts. So I broke mine up into the first 5 for the 5 heads, and then the last 3 separately because that made more sense in my brain. And this was over the holiday weekend, so I got a little bit more reading in. I read Earth Unaware. I gave it 3 stars. I already talked about this one. It's the first Formic War or Orson Scott Card series that predates the Ender's Game series and also the Ender Shadow series because those are same time. I don't think I mentioned Ender Shadow series, but yes. I always thought those were the same series, but they are not. Apparently they are like concurrent, separate series because they follow a different person. But anywho's, this one happens at the very, very beginning. It's the first war, and I believe the second war with Ender. Like maybe the third, but I haven't finished all of the things to know. But I'm pretty sure that's at least the second war for Ender. Give it 3 stars. I will probably read the second one and see how I feel about that. I may just read them all just because I love Ender's Game so much. It's one of my favorite books of all time. Then I read From Best Friend to Fiancé, and that one I gave 3 stars. It's for where emotions run hot between the characters, obviously. So I also mentioned 150 for Earth Unaware, 125 for Best Friend of Fiancé, and then for 200 points, I did the White Frost Head, which was Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and this one is probably almost 100% why I did not get to the 5th head. I really wanted to get to all of the heads, but I didn't get to a horror book on my list, unfortunately, because this one is a really big. It's a chunker. It's big, but I got 200 points for it. 3 stars. I did enjoy it. Like I mentioned, gave the details to my husband, and he said, I enjoyed the story. I would not read it myself just because that's not his kind of book. But yeah, it was interesting. And then I started a new series because I can't stop myself from starting new series, apparently. And I read the first book called The Wolf King, and I already have the next book on my list for next year to read. And that was for Greenhead's Poison, read a book where toxins play a key role, because there are toxins in this book, obviously. There's several different types of poisons and venoms and things along those lines, and there's wolfsbane, and so I was like, those are toxins. Yeah, several people have wolfsbane at them at some point, and someone has to come and like give them antidotes, and then of course, you know, you get bitten and a whole bunch of things. So I figured that was toxin-y enough for that 120 points. And I meant to delete this 100 points because that was what it was going to be if I had finished that book and I didn't get to it. So I did not put it on my tracker. So when you get to the end and you see my total points, that does not include those 100. I promise. I just forgot to delete it from the actual page. I'll go back and fix that later. And on the final challenges, I only got to one of them, which was the death saving throw, because I felt like that was like, you gotta have a death saving throw. It's D&D. So I did that one, which was read a book where someone dies. So I read The Man Who Died Twice. This was a book that I needed for Herkiad, for the quote page for the word who. And I gave it 3 stars. It is the second book in the Thursday Murder Club mystery book series. Yeah. So then we get to our next random encounter, which is not random encounter 6, it is random encounter 4. Apparently I got all kinds of issues to fix in this thing when I get done with it. I rolled an 8. Like I said, I was rolling hot. I was very happy. And it was give one of your favorite main characters a D&D class. And because I had just finished reading Earth Unaware, I chose Ender Wiggin from Ender's Game. And I thought that most characters in the series would likely see him as a paladin, because paladins are usually like fighting for a deity, and I feel like they kind of at one point towards the end sort of saw him as this like almost holy general, and he was just a little boy, but very, very smart little boy and a very broken little boy. But he was still just a little boy, and so I thought he would see himself more of a ranger rogue, because he didn't really see himself as a good guy at some points, and he fixes himself and gets himself some not necessarily fixes himself. That's not a good way to say it, but he grows and changes throughout the series. But at the end of the first book, he is definitely not seeing himself as a paladin. He's making himself leave Earth, and he's just like, I can't do this. I can't live here, and have all these people think of me as this like amazing person, when I did something in his eyes horrible, right? So I think he would see himself more as a soldier, who did what he was told, and also kind of um, a little bit sly and shady and sneaky for some of the things that he did throughout. So I went with Ranger Rogue hybrid, heavy on the Ranger, but some rogue attributes for him. That was a lot of talk, but yes. Let me know if you read it and you agree. So then we got our first and only monster encounter. And this was the final challenge to get rid of Tiamat. So you take him down, but he didn't stay down. He comes back. Anyway, so this was everyone go in on this one, and you get 1 XP for every bit of damage, I guess you could say, that you inflict, and then they divide the entirety of the 40,000 XP, or however much there was when the 24 hours were up, amongst everybody's group who participated. I imagine that would have been all 4. So it's evenly divvied up between the 4 groups. So it's a little more fair. So I earned 419 XP for the Wolf King and 836 XP for Wizard's First Rule. I told you, it's chunker, but it's so good. Anyways, so I ended strong on these two for finishing up the challenge, and that is where we were at. Finishing up, I did not use all of my cards. I did not use either Mage Hand or Mislead. I started out with Mage Hand and never used it, and I got Mislead when we hit level 6. But I didn't end up using either of them because both of those were skipping the main quest prompt, which means you're skipping out on quite a few points because the main quests get the most points. They start out with anywhere from 100 points to 220 something points, 225, 250 points. And then you get extra points for your class trait and for your pages. So that's giving up quite a bit. I would have had to have had an amazing side quest book to be able to potentially make up that number of points. So I chose to not use either of those. I can see how they would be useful if you were only reading a few books for the month and you wanted to pick your favorite prompt as an example. It just didn't really work for how I utilized the books I read for the month. But that is okay. I also didn't get the most points I could potentially get because I didn't only choose books that had magic. Because every time I chose a book that had magic, I got an extra 50 points. So I'm not saying that I did everything for the most number of points generally here, but that was something I couldn't see myself doing, is giving up that many points. So I didn't use them. I could have potentially, but I did not. So end of readathon stats. My stats, I completed 33 prompts, which means that if you already listened to me jabber on about my monthly reads in general, all but 6 books that I read for the month fit into here. Or I picked when I read the books that I was reading based on the prompts that I had here. Because I read 39 books for the month and I read 33 prompts. So, math. Pages read are at 13,646 pages out of 4 of those 33 books. And XP earned, this is not 100% accurate because these guys, I don't know how many points I personally contributed to my team because they divided the 40,000 by every team. So I had to just sort of add these to the amount that I actually earned, and that's how I came up with this number. So I earned for sure like 5,300-ish, and then the other 1,200, well, it would be 5,500, and the other 1,200 came from those 2 books for the extra points for Tiamat monster encounter. But since I don't know how many points of mine actually made it into the final divvy, unknown, because I don't know how many we actually got, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's how it is. So I just assume if we want to go with 5,500, that's fine. But yes. So the final scores, 4th place was Rogues with 122,402 points. Fighters got 146,323 points. Druids 151,269 points. And my team, the Wizards, won 1st place. Yay! With 153,864 points, which is actually really, really close when you think about how many people were participating, and that just one book could potentially get you up to 500-600 points if you're reading like a big book. That's really not that far away. Like, what, 20, like a little over, almost 2,300, yeah, ish. 2,500. What am I talking about? Like 2,500. That's not that many books between 1st and 2nd place, and even between 1st and 4th place. And they weren't evenly divided either. And I don't know if Wizards had like significantly more people. I do know that monster encounters and random encounters were put in there to help level the playing field. So like if you had a group that had significantly fewer people, you would have more monster encounters and random encounters, versus you would have less if you had a bunch of people, more than anybody else. So that was in there to help to sort of even the playing score. But yeah, Wizards won this round, which is exciting. It's fun. Oh, it didn't... I'm going to escape for a second, and then you can see what it actually looks like. For some reason, it's not showing up. Can I close it now? There we go. It looks like this. The Legacy Award. So everybody who did the first round got this kind of like token. So the next time we can swap 3 book prompts for any books that we want, which that is worth its weight, man. It is. I will be able to do all kinds of damage with that, and I'm excited. It's any single card that grants 3 swaps at any given time. So I could do 2 side quests and 1 main, or all 3 mains, or however I want, it sounds like. Ooh, sorry. And so that's the cool thing that we got for this, for participating this time for the first round. So I wonder what we'll get for the second round next year. But anyways, that is it for our sort of review. Other than saying, like, did I enjoy it? Yes, I did enjoy it. Just like I said last time, I don't necessarily know that a completely unplanned challenge works for me when it is that quick of a turnaround, because I feel a little bit more stressed, and it makes me unhappy to not be able to finish all of the prompts for the side prompts. So I wish there were fewer side quests for me personally, though I do understand having a bunch so people can choose what fits them and what they want to read. So I get that. So that was a yes, that makes sense, and I enjoy that for other people. But for me, who likes to be completionist, I would have preferred fewer so that I could get them all done. Like Pokemon, you gotta catch them all. And I would have preferred to have a bit more preparation. That way I could get different books from the library, because I was kind of having to go with whatever I already had or had no weight from the library. And that was not always able to be done. Like, there were definitely times where I was like, okay, well, I would prefer to read XYZ book, and that would work better for trying to fit in my other books that I'm doing for other challenges, but that wasn't going to fit. So if you're just doing one challenge for the month, I think this is great. Love it. If you're doing multiple challenges and you're trying to fit all the books together, it was a little stressful. I was also traveling at the time, so I was trying to like make sure not to miss any challenges, even though I was sleeping when everyone was awake, and vice versa, because I was abroad with my family. And That was a little stressful, but all in all, I thought it was fun. It was well designed and thought out. She put a lot of work into this and lots of kudos. So let me know if you participated as well. If so, what was your favorite prompt of the entire challenge, readathon? And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!